The last train of the night screamed through the station like it had something to escape from. Maya stood frozen on platform 4, clutching a canvas bag that smelled faintly of engine oil and old books. The digital clock blinked 11:47 p.m. She had missed it. Again. Rain drizzled lazily, not enough to soak, just enough to irritate, the kind that crept into your collar and stayed there, whispering reminders of all the wrong turns you'd ever taken. Maya exhaled slowly. She wasn't angry, not anymore. Life had drained that from her years ago. At 36, Maya had learned that anger required energy she had long redirected into survival. The station was nearly empty. A try vendor packed up his stall. A stray dog curled itself under a bench. Somewhere, a janitor hummed an old tune that cracked with age. Maya sat down. Tonight wasn't supposed to end like this. 1. A city that forgot her name. She had returned to this city after 12 years. 12 years ago, she left with 2 suitcases and a borrowed dream. Now she came back with 1 bag, a cracked phone screen, and a letter folded so many times the paper had gone soft. The city had grown taller, but colder. Buildings leaned into the sky like they had something to prove. Billboards flashed smiling faces she didn't recognize. This place used to know her. Now it didn't even try. Maya pulled her jacket tighter and looked at the letter again. "We regret to inform you." The words hadn't changed no matter how many times she reread them. Her startup, 3 years of sleepless nights, instant noodles, and blind faith had collapsed in a single email. Investors had pulled out, partners vanished, promises dissolved. Just like that. She had boarded the first train back home without telling anyone, especially not Rohit. 2. The man who loved quietly. Rohit had loved Maya in a way that didn't announce itself. No grand gestures, no dramatic declarations, just presence. He was the kind of man who remembered how she liked her tea without asking, who listened more than he spoke, who waited. For 5 years he waited. While Maya chased ideas bigger than both of them, Rohit stayed back in the city, teaching physics at a government school, saving money, defending her name whenever relatives mocked her ambition. "She'll come back," he'd say calmly. They laughed at him. Until tonight. Rohit stood at the station entrance, umbrella tilted against the rain, scanning every face like it might belong to a future he refused to give up on. Then he saw her, thinner, tired, eyes darker. Still Maya. She hadn't called, hadn't texted, but something had told him she'd be here.
3. No apologies, only silence. They didn't hug. They didn't smile. They stood facing each other, the space between them heavy with everything unsaid. "I missed the train," Maya finally said. Rohit nodded. "I know." She blinked. "You know? You always miss trains when your life is falling apart." That broke something. Maya laughed, once, then covered her mouth as tears spilled out like they'd been waiting their turn. Rohit didn't rush her. He simply held the umbrella higher. 4. A house full of echoes. The house smelled the same. Old wood, detergent, faint incense. Maya's childhood home had survived where her confidence hadn't. Her mother's photo hung crooked on the wall. Her father's chair remained empty as it had for 8 years. Rohit placed the kettle on the stove. "You hungry?" he asked. Maya shook her head. She wasn't hungry for food. She was hungry for reassurance that her life hadn't been a complete waste. They sat across from each other at the dining table, the silence thick, but not uncomfortable. Finally, Maya spoke. "I failed." Rohit didn't correct her. He simply said, "Tell me everything." So she did. 5. The rise before the fall. Maya told him about the nights she slept under her desk, about the pitch meetings that ended with polite smiles and rejection emails, about the one investor who believed in her just enough to ruin her, about the moment she realized her company was bleeding money faster than she could save it. "I thought success would fix everything," she whispered. Rohit listened, then said softly, "Success doesn't fix, it reveals." She looked at him, startled. "When you're chasing something," he continued, "you don't hear yourself breaking." 6. Morning doesn't ask permission. The next morning arrived without ceremony. Sunlight spilled through the curtains like it had every right to be there. Maya woke up disoriented, expecting the hum of traffic from a different city. Instead, she heard sparrows. Real ones. For the first time in years, she had nowhere to be. That terrified her. She sat on the bed, staring at her hands. They used to build things. Now they shook. 7. The job interview that changed nothing. 2 weeks later, Maya sat across from a man half her age, explaining her resume. He nodded enthusiastically. "You're impressive," he said, "but overqualified." The word hit harder than rejection. She walked out, numb. At a tea stall outside, she saw Rohit grading papers, red pen moving steadily. "How was it?" he asked. She shrugged. Didn't matter. He smiled gently. Nothing matters until it does. 8. The unexpected beginning. It started small. Maya helped Rohit's students prepare for a science fair. Then a neighbor asked her to teach basic accounting. Then another. Soon, word spread. She wasn't a failed entrepreneur. She was someone who knew things. And for the first time, Maya wasn't building something to prove a point. She was building something to belong. 9. The letter she never sent. One evening, Maya found an old notebook. Inside was a letter she had written to herself years ago. "If you ever come back broken, don't apologize for dreaming." She cried quietly, not from sadness, from relief. 10. The train finally stops. Months later, Maya stood on the same platform. This time, she wasn't late. The train arrived slowly, deliberately. She didn't board it. She watched it go. Rohit stood beside her. "Any regrets?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "No," she said, "just lessons." The rain began again, soft and patient, and for the first time in a long time, Maya felt exactly where she was meant to be.